Hi, Aldo and Eric.
I,
Congratulations on the launch of Ocean Explorers. I was wondering to start with if you can talk a little bit about how you first came to be involved with OceanX. Was it through Ocean Explorers, or had you already been working with that organization prior to this?
I've been building underwater exploration tools for more than a decade. I started out with this project to build a really low-cost ROV submarine, and I met some of the producers for the show, Maria Wilhelm and James Cameron, and they were really into this sort of technology that allows us to give access to exploration to everyone. And as that relationship grew and the show started to come around, they suggested I try out for it, and man, it changed my life.
I'd been working on a project about illegal tiger traffickers in Southeast Asia, and I think the same sort of guys on the production team had seen that and seen a bit of my background. But the funny part of it is we all ended up in LA, doing escape rooms and all sorts of tests, and it was you had some of the best people in the world, in this one area, all going through the process to see who would then be the four people that would then be on these missions and bringing this to the world. So, but that feels like quite a while ago now.
Passing together, man. I think we were younger then, like felt younger.
Well, and I was curious to know about the timeline of these things too, because I know it can sometimes be quite a long time between when you're actually doing these expeditions and when the project comes out. Has it been a long time since everything that's happening in these 6 episodes actually happened?
Actually, we auditioned for this and got selected for the show, and we thought we would just start filming kind of right away before COVID, and then COVID broke out, and it was a year they had to figure out different places for the ship to go and all that. So then we started filming, and that was still in the end of 2020, 2021. And now it's been in post-production for a long time as they get all this incredible footage put together in the way to tell the story. So for us, yeah, it's been nearly half a decade, I think, in the making to get to this
But it's
point.
been the team, the BBC team making it, and James and his team, I think first probably started putting
Oh yeah.
ideas like this together maybe 10 years ago. So it's been a long time coming, and you've got so many moving parts in in a docu-series like this, with the ship, with the crew, with the scientists. And then also you've got to be in the right place at the right time for the animals, whether they're migrating or whether they're in the right, part, whether in their zoos or and then COVID. So, really it takes quite a lot of planning, and by the time Eric, myself, and Zaleka and Melissa hit the ship, there was already years of planning gone into it.
I know this is a passion project for James Cameron. He really cares about this stuff and has been working toward getting to this point for a long time. So to be a part of something that so many people have put so much of their lives into, even before we started, has been incredible.
Since you just mentioned James Cameron, I'm curious to know, were both of you like James Cameron film buffs prior to meeting him? Has the sheen of him being James Cameron worn off? Is he just Jim to you now?
The ability to tell a story that really connects to people is incredible, and I've been very moved by a lot of those movies. Of course, being a tech guy who likes to explore underwater, The Abyss was like watching that was incredible. So yeah, I never would have pictured that I'd actually be working with him on this project. But as we've talked, he really knows his stuff. He's deeply passionate about exploring this part of our world that we know so little about. So yeah, I mean, you can definitely see how his taste and passion for exploration has influenced, the way that we did what we did.
Ultimately, like Eric says, he cares. And that comes across. That comes across from the very start with who he selected to be on that ship in the first place. But then the team who are actually filming it are the best in the world at what they do. They've made some of the biggest natural history films on the planet. And so really it was like down to the very nth degree was planned and very meticulous, as you would expect with someone who has been to the deepest parts of our oceans.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the selection of the research components. Like each episode, seems to focus on kind of a mission or an expedition. I imagine there's so many things that you want to see and want to explore. How did you narrow it down to these six themes, these six topics?
Well, first of all, it's really not just us. We're there to make sure these missions are successful and contribute our knowledge. But there's a massive team of people who, we're looking into each of the places that we could go and what the things we might be able to uncover are. This six-part docuseries is about really solving problems or understanding things that are new. I think that's one of the things that really stands out about this TV show is that we're really doing science. The researchers that we're working with are publishing papers based off of what we saw on the show. So a big element of this was, seeing things that are perhaps unknown still and understanding them better. Also, it's important to note that, missions didn't always go as planned. There were times when we thought we'd be witnessing one phenomena or seeing one type of thing happen. And then we'd get totally, blindsided and a completely different thing would happen and we'd have to adapt. So, we did our best to try to kind of understand where a certain type of thing might happen and how we might be able to capture it. But then once you're in the field, it's nature's at the wheel.
And I think a big part of it is trust. You have a scientist or a couple of scientists whose entire life work, PhD, is based around this animal, and their research is, the cutting edge research, in that field. To hand that over to the four of us, the ship and television is like quite a big ask. And so I think trust was a huge part of it. And that comes from the top, knowing that you have James Cameron and his team, knowing that you have BBC Studios and their team, and knowing that it's, for National Geographic, it doesn't get any bigger or better than that. But ultimately, that trust has to, that trust is what got access or got us access to that specific world, for sure.
The technology on board this ship, I mean, this ship looks clean and new and state of the art. I know, Eric, that you've been working in the ocean exploration tech space for a long time. Was this just like mind blowing to suddenly have all these bells and whistles at your fingertips and all this new tech?
Oh my God, Alex, mind-blowing is an understatement. I mean, it's not just like, the newest stuff that's pretty good. This is like the cutting edge, absolute best technology you could have in each of these fields, all combined on one ship. To me, it felt sort of like, it feels like being on, the USS Enterprise or something like that. We are living in this sci-fi thing where we have all the technology that almost no one even has access to. But the cool thing is, there's no fourth wall. You don't turn around and this is where the camera crew is and everything else is a set. Everything you see on the ship is real. It's actually functional. We go out to that submarine bay, the submersible bay, and those two subs can go to 1,000 meters. That's like over 3,000 feet, and they're ready to be deployed. We have a helicopter out on the hangar. I mean, it really felt surreal. I think honestly, it took me the first month or two of filming to realize that we were actually doing this, and this ship can go anywhere in the world and see things that no humans have laid eyes on before. Blew my mind.
And the way the way that they're able to spin it up, we might decide up in the meeting in the bridge one evening that we're going to be, the next day there'll be dive ops. Eric and the guys are going down in the submersibles. We're going to have the helicopter up. We're going to have the ROV out, or we're going to be doing CTD. Like, they can spin up all of these things at any one time. And if you think, going from 3,000 feet up in the helicopter down to 3,000 feet, down on the seabed, we just have this amazing three-dimensional space to just hoover up data, new, fresh data.
And we're going to be deploying these things simultaneously. There were days literally where we had the ROV coming out of the side of the ship. We're doing crewed submersible dives, the helicopters in there. It's like, I remember coming back on one of the tenders once and all these things were in operation. I was like, what is going on? Like we are really doing it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you both so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and live long and prosper.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Take care.